Okay, your next assignment is to take what you learned in creating 3D shapes and actually create a bowl of fruits. If you choose to maybe add a vegetable in there, that's fine, but a bowl of fruits. So that means you're creating a bowl, 3D, revolve, very simple shape. You'll have to have multiple fruits, at least 4 different types of fruits. So in my example here, you can see the oranges, the blueberries, the apples, and the pears. At least 3 of the types of fruit you create need to have at least 2 of them. So I have 2 pears, I have 2 apples, lots of oranges here, lots of blueberries here. You want a full bowl of fruits and or vegetables. You're also going to create the environment in which you see this in. So of course I just simply created a few shapes to make a table, and I used simply a color for the background, but notice it's not a solid color, it's a gradient, meaning a transition from white to blue. I'm going to show you how to do that. And a little touch here with my ant, which is not 3D, it's just a tiny little accent I added in there. Now, what you should notice is my fruits all look like they are inside that bowl. And the way that is done is by adding a mask, which I will show you how to do. Next thing you should be noticing is the standard toolbar is open, the layers panel is open. I have appearance open because, of course, there's a lot of 3D that will be used and I may need to edit. Also, my color panel, my gradient panel, all will be useful this time through. Notice there are 3 layers in your panel. You must have separate layers, one for your background and label it. So my blue, sky, and table with ant, those are all on my background layer. The bowl itself is on its own layer. And if you hadn't noticed, I did create a little shadow on the table, which is also in background. Bowl is on its own, as I just showed you, and the fruits are all on their own. The reason the fruits need to go on their own layer is because we have to apply what's called a clipping mask to the fruits to make them look as though they sit inside that bowl. Now, if you will notice, as I move close to the fruits, you see this large path that's going around the area. This is a path created simply with a pen tool, and it is to preserve the area I want to be able to see fruits so that it can block the areas where the fruit should not be seen, which would be on the outside. So let me turn my clipping path off. With my clipping path turned off, you can simply see how I've placed and arranged all of the fruit, and they're of course on top of the bowl. They don't look right, but when I apply my path that's turned into a clipping mask, it's now hidden everything that is not meant to be seen, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so to begin, I will not demonstrate the entire process of creating this illustration, but I will demonstrate for each area. To begin, I'm not starting a whole new artboard because I want to keep this current example open while I'm demonstrating. So I've created in that layers panel the layers inside a folder for my left artboard, and of course I've got a right artboard. I'm going to create another artboard. This is simply for demonstration purposes. You do not need 2 artboards, nor do you need to have 2 separate artboard folders. You only need the 3 required for the assignment. So I have my artboard panel open. I'm simply going to add 1 new artboard. You do not need to do this step. This is for demonstration purposes only. So everything I do on the right, I'm going to put into right artboard, and everything that already was done on the left is up here in left artboard. For your artboard, you will need to have 3 layers labeled. So 2, 3. Wait, one more. Okay, you need to have your background. Okay, and I'm going to drag that in here. You need to have a layer just for your bowl. And I'll drag that in here. And you need a layer for your fruits. And that is the layer that your mask will go in as well. So you should have in your layer panel 3 layers: fruits, bowls, and background. Okay, all of this is in the written instructions. On your background layer, you could choose to do a big solid color. That's up to you. Or a gradient, which lends itself to helping create the illusion of some depth. So if you noticed, I picked that shape tool for a rectangle, and I've just filled it. Now, I already had a gradient created. Let me show you what it's going to look like for you, because you won't already have a gradient created. Let me... Okay, so when you go select a tool, such as the pre-created rectangle, drag it out, it's going to fill with whatever color is here in your fill panel. Now, it defaulted to a gradient because I just created one. So you want to stay away from just a solid color. To make a gradient, you have to go to Window and open your gradient panel, which of course is already open for me, and it's down here. In your gradient panel, you won't see anything here next to type, so you have to click that drop down and pick radial or linear. If it's a large background you're filling, you probably want linear, but let's see what the radial. See, radial is a circular pattern, and if you notice, the cyan is in the center, the white is towards the outside. You can also, of course, click and drag these buckets. They're paint buckets. You can click and drag them to change that direction. Now it's the white in the center. You can also click and add as many of these buckets as you like. You can double click on a bucket and then pick new colors. But that's really probably not necessary for this. All you have to do to get rid of all those extra buckets is click on them and drag them down, and they go away. I'm going to stick to a linear pattern for my background. So I have the linear pattern. One side is one color, one side is the other, and in between is all the transition or gradient area. If you want to create your own gradient, which of course you do, just double click the buckets, pick what color you want in each bucket, and then the computer does the rest as far as creating the transition. Now, of course, that is not a color I wanted in my background. Maybe I want more of a sunrise or a sunset. Just all depends on what you're going to do. I like the subtlety of the yellow, deep yellow to the golden orange color, so I'm going to keep it. However, right now my transition is running left to right or right to left. Maybe I want to change that direction. So if I want to change the direction the gradient's going in, I come to my gradient tool, and this bar appears. Now, first of all, you get the slider with the color buckets again. So if you notice, depending on how you slide it, depends on how much of one color or the other. I generally work with mine at either end, but again, you're going to decide what works for you. If you want to change the direction, you move your mouse outside of here, and you see I have a rounded arrow. You can rotate the angle at which you want that gradient to occur. You can click on one end and adjust where it's actually placed. Okay, so if I wanted my gradient to work up and down, now it goes way beyond my artboard, so I'm pulling it back in so I can still see both of my colors. I don't know if you noticed, but when I move beyond the actual artboard, it also moves the gradient up and out. So I want it all to be inside. So I can rotate the gradient, I can adjust how much of one color versus another, and it just fills whatever shape I have selected at the time. And now my basic background is done. Whatever surface you want to put it on, if it's a piece of furniture, if it's on a picnic blanket, on a chair, whatever it is, you'd then create that next. Okay, there's your background. Bowl, you should already understand how to create your bowl, whatever shape you want. I'm going to turn my fill color, actually I'll keep that fill on, and I am going to select, let's see, maybe we'll do a red bowl this time. I'm just going to create a basic shape for my bowl. Effect, 3D, revolve. We've done lots of these in the previous exercise. I'm just going to keep that without adjusting anything at the moment. It's a pretty tall bowl. And again, create your own unique shape. You don't have to just certainly do what I'm doing. I want you to have your own ideas. And I'm just adjusting it. Ooh, I'm not liking that too much. And I don't really see the bottom of it anymore. If I want to keep it this wide, I probably want to go back into appearance and rotate it just slightly so I still see some of the side. I'll rotate it up just a bit. Okay, I have a basic bowl. Again, I'm not creating the illustration right now in front of you. I'm just demonstrating each part of it. Now that we have a bowl, let's put some fruit in it. So very quickly, I'm just going to make an orange. Let's just do an orange real quick. And I'm going to, I think I'll turn this stroke color. Oops. Be sure you turn or deselect your previous shape before you start making changes, or it will change that one as well. I am going to, let's make an apple. Okay, here we go. Let's make an apple. Maybe a green apple. Now, once you've made an apple, you can use it as many times as you want. If you made an apple, whatever fruit you choose to make, use it as many times as you want and just change its color, and then it looks like you have more in there than you really do. Okay, I've created half of my apple shape. I'm going to revolve it and see what I get. Oh, my computer is slowing down. Chugga chugga, come on, revolve. Sometimes if it gets hung up and the progress bar is really not moving, you can click on stop, and stop somehow forces it to finish and all of a sudden revolve. Oh, okay. Now, not the best apple shape. I'm going to zoom in for just a moment and make a couple adjustments to the path. It's a little bit boxy. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, move some of my anchors in to adjust the shape. I want to get rid of that cornering that's happening up there. Okay, so I'm going to grab the handle and maybe adjust it out a bit. And every change you make has to be re-rendered. Patience. Very important. Okay, it plumped the bottom just a bit, but the top, I think, I want to get rid of that edge. I've never seen an apple in nature with an edge like that. So be careful with your shapes. Oh, I could live with that. That's a Granny Smith. Okay, so, and of course, I would want to perhaps take the paintbrush or a pencil and just a little bit of brown and I could put a stem in there. You don't have to make your stem 3D. Although, if you wanted to give it a try, go right ahead. Oh no, I think I just changed my apple color. No, undo. Okay, I'm not going to bother with the stem right now. I just want to get you into creating your still life. I'm just going to take this apple into the bowl. Okay, now, once you have all your fruits created and you've started to set them in, to the bowl. Now this bowl is way too small to fit an apple that large. I would either have to enlarge my bowl, because of course I want to fill my 11 by 17 artboard. So I could either enlarge the bowl or shrink my fruit at this point. I'm just going to put the fruit in here to show you how to use a clipping mask. I'm going to deselect it, and look what happened. I'm looking at my layers. I drew my fruit inside my bowl layer, so all I need to do though is drag my fruit up to the fruits layer. You must keep these separate. Okay, so background, bowl, and fruits. I want that apple to look like it's inside the bowl, so I'm just going to take my pen tool. I'm not going to keep any color on, although it doesn't matter if you did keep color on, but I don't want any. And I'm going to click and make a path that follows the basic contour of the inside edge of that bowl. Okay, I have to make some adjustments clearly. So I'm editing my path to go right along that inside edge of the bowl. I'll bring that down. This is going to be used as the mask. And of course, since I have nothing over here, I don't really care that that's the shape. Okay, anything that stays inside this path will be viewable on the fruits layer, because that's where I've drawn the path. And anything outside, such as the bottom of the apple, will not be viewable once I apply the mask. I'm going to come over here and just select the entire fruits folder. And at this point, it's simply the path and the apple. You will have many pieces of fruit. And while that whole folder is selected, I'm going to go up to Object, down to Clipping Mask, and I'm going to make a mask. Look at that. It hides the whole bottom. Now, clearly, there's a little adjusting I need to do to my mask, because it is not showing exactly. There we go. Much, much, much better. Okay, so we have on the background layer created the background. Yours must have some sort of a surface where your bowl will reside or sit or live. You need to have a 3D bowl on its own layer, and you have to have all your fruits and or vegetables, if you choose, on its own layer. And on the fruits layer, you must create the clipping path so that it can create an illusion that everything sits inside your bowl, just as I did in my sample. Ask questions if you have them.